Hey everybody! This is day whatever, like day two of Roadside Nuggets. So take full accountability. I am tardy today, not starting at 2. Love needed me elsewhere for a moment. So thank you, Mom. Thank you, Divine Timing, to be always present and whatever is necessary in that moment. Today, I'm really excited for a stream today. I was like, there's a lot going on this morning. I got this ping on just kind of going after the spiritual light worker community a little bit today. I don't know what it's all about. Just kind of feeling into just what the angels were bringing to me, and just a lot of just crap, it was fascinating. I had a really awesome, amazing session with one of our beautiful brothers, and it just was another reharder, another ping on the dysfunction from the spiritual light worker community, and how really in fantasy and delusion everybody really is still, and projection and lower timelines, all out, not present at all over the board, have no point of reference at all with what's actually anchoring into real reality and manifesting for the collective. They're all over the place. And this is causing more dysfunction, with sharing, all this crap with other people, by pulling other people into other practices and things that have nothing to do with healing, have nothing to do with transforming, nothing to do with releasing energy, or even embodying divinity. It's all self-importance. It's all a bunch of me, and all this and that, and identification with things outside yourself that have nothing to do with your soul contract. And yet that's what everyone is spending the most time, focusing on. So we're going to clear all of that today. Oh, I still have the welcome 5D thing. Forgive me, I'm still getting used to this whole thing. This thing is very cool. I like it. It's exciting. It's like a new, I don't know, what do they call it? In a spaceship, you have that whole pad where it has all these buttons. You get to press these and it does all these different things. It's really cool and fun. Thank you, Mom. Childlike joy and fun. But, getting back to what I was expressing, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of hearsay, and a lot of people just want to get on the soapbox, just want to talk, just want all the attention to be on them. But really, if you look at it, what is it about? Is it really about moving forward? Is it about everyone actually clearing, getting to a better stage of human life? Or is it another broken record where we go back around and just focusing on other drama and immaterial, things that have nothing to do with Ascension at all? I have a really cool video. I feel I'm just going to show it a little bit later on, but it talks so much about just there's, and I found it pretty interesting because, this individual I had followed on Instagram and had watched quite a few videos of, and when I was back in 3D before I joined Mission, before I found Mom on the internet and all this stuff took place, he was, an individual that I found the Hoffman breathing technique, or whatever you say it, through, and it was fascinating. It was interesting perception on consciousness and the breath work, and how that moves that energy and how it just works. It was a fascinating concept, and just what he was interested in at those moments was more in alignment with where I was at the time, and it was a lot about the human vessel, and how to get the human vessel to do different things, the physical body. And, at a certain point, you can probably follow along with this guy. And then after meeting Mom and understanding all these things on, a mission about energetics and just going through all this stuff, now listening to this, I see it. I see the misinformation. I see the dysfunction that is spread around, that is over glorified over the internet and just the media, where people are just misinformed. They are bullshitted around. They are told half-truths that sound right, that sound good, so they'll buy it, but it actually has no advantage, nothing, no benefit at all. It's a waste of energy. It's a suck fest, and I'm going to play the video in a moment, but just listen to this guy. Just listen to the point of reference of his words. Where is he, basically, referencing himself from? What is he, describing? What is he explaining, in this video? And then this partner of his that he has come on and actually express, about these different energetics and just hearing how dysfunctional it really is, how mind-based it is, and how really these people don't have no idea what they're talking about. They're basing off science, all of its like book text crap. And when they regurgitate it, it really sounds dumb. And you observe them in this dysfunction, how they are trying to justify and trying to validate pain and suffering, and these very robotic ways of hijacking the human vessel, of hijacking the body systems to get the body to do something else. It's all mind. Why would you need to hijack the body if it was an organic process? If the body is capable of something, then it's an organic process that will allow it to do it. Not a hijacking, not a force. That is trauma. That's re-traumatizing the physical vessel to the point where the higher etheric can't anchor in. And I discerned that through watching this video. It's like, whoa, that's a good point, angels. Because exactly what's happening. Fucking the human physical body up so much that the higher energetics are going to have a harder time anchoring in and integrating with the physical body, because it's over-traumatized, it's abused, it's been shut down, desensitized, numbed, locked down in so many different ways and layers, that all the higher essences has to literally pummel the physical experience just to get through, which is going to transfer into what? More intense, insane experience for people to go through. Because the physical body is not releasing, it's not letting go, it's not allowing the process of ascension evolution. You see what's happening? So on the physical plane, the dysfunction is literally trying to go for the physical vessel and lock that down, so the higher energetics are going to have a harder time. Anyways, I'll let you watch this video and just see what you guys feel from this. And yeah, I found it quite hilarious. But
the principle, no pressure, no diamonds. I think when it comes to performance, I've noticed personally that if I'm on a deadline and I'm going to suffer if I don't get something big done, that it's a great motivator for me. Is that what that principle is about, or is there more to it?
That's interesting. I hadn't. It could be. I hadn't thought about it that way. I always, anything worth doing requires hard work, and that's how that's how I think about it, more than anything. And I also think when I think about no pressure, no diamonds, I think you have to crush diamonds into existence. And I often think the world is a lot like that. Like, you have to, not in a violent, hostile anything, but you often have to take what you want from the world. And it's not going, to put it less dramatically, everybody figures this out sooner or later, but your life is not going to be anything more or less than you make it. And that's right. And to make it into something that you want, requires acts of aggression. And I don't mean it like in a hostile way or a competitive, I just mean it. You have to, first of all, to drop into flow, often you have to trigger the fight response. There's a moment of diving into the thing and rising to the challenge. And that's how I think about no pressure, no diamonds. Procrastination is a funny thing, because it's often a flow signal. It's often a signal that, so when the system likes to perform at its best, right? And you're not, whatever you're procrastinating is because you don't care enough to focus enough to do your best at the thing you're doing, or you're too scared, right? It's one or the other. And so, I always tell people that with procrastination, a lot of people perform with procrastination, especially, your emotions don't mean what you think they mean. Procrastination, we've got this idea in society that it's this bad thing. We're bad people because no, the system wants to perform at its best, and flow follows focus, right? It shows up when all of our attention is in the right here, right now. And there's a flow trigger known as the challenge skills balance. So if you want more flow in your life, this is a really good place to start. The idea is that flow follows focus. It can only show up when all of our attention is in the right here, right now. So we pay the most attention to the task at hand when the challenge of that task slightly exceeds our skill set. So you want to stretch, but not snap. So I would put it emotionally, and then so get me back to procrastination. That sweet spot is sort of near, but not on the midpoint between boredom and anxiety. Boredom, there's not enough stimulation here. I can't pay attention. Anxiety, whoa, there's way too much. So procrastination, the problem is that there's either not enough stimulation and you're bored, and so you can't focus. So you're going to put it off until the night before when suddenly, holy crap, the thing is due the next day. Now you've got my undivided attention, right? Kind of thing. So what I used to do this when I was coming up as a journalist, especially early on, to just pay my bills, I had to write about everything. I had to write as many articles as I possibly could write. As a result, any editor called me, I would say yes, right? Whatever it was, you need it written, the answer is yes. Just call me, I'm your guy. And
Dysfunction, ladies and gentlemen, 100% at its finest. I don't know what that was. Pure dysfunction. A bunch of regurgitated crap. And like that was like in the last part, that's scary. This guy, how many years he's been into, journalists, being a journalist, and just like how quick he'll jump at the bit to write you need anything written? Answer is yes. Dysfunction. Why would you write about just anything and say yes to? Why? Because you're deprived, you are desiring, you are wanting, you're lusting after things because you're in lack, you're in devoid of things, you're not allowing it for your experience, therefore you're going to externalize it and go after it in the physical experience. Dysfunction. And yet you're going to teach that to other people, yet you're going to continue writing about that continuously for other people, dysfunction. You see, and this is how, a big part of the spiritual light work community, how that comes into play, where it just manipulates everything. It hears something and then it just says it, literally on like robotic response. No feeling into it, no clearing, actually transform the energy and actually realizing the truth in it. It's just full on copy and paste. And we transfer it to other people, confusing other beings, manipulating other beings' perceptions and their ability to find the truth, to understand themselves, to be able to evolve and transform. And yet this is what, the media, mainstream, society and humanity does, where it just mainstreams a bunch of crap and you must dig through it all now. And you're only going to be able to discern that through the heart space, through actually being in the heart space and being love, feeling for the truth, not hearing things and thinking into it. That's all mind. It's always been mind-based, and just, a lot of other parts of that video, just so much about the spiritual community where it is like you just listen to what they are saying. They have absolutely no idea. Talking out of the side of their neck, just all over the place, just spitting things out. And like literally like trying to think and figure out the process as they're sharing this. They have not mastered this energy. They have not fully consciously felt through this and actually navigated through this consciousness, this energy. So therefore, they're projecting. They're judging with their own opinions and telling people what this is, and it's not. Procrastination, that was probably the worst explanation of procrastination I've ever heard in my entire life. And giving 2 point-blank reasons of why people would be in procrastination because they don't care or they're scared. There's a lot more reasons why people procrastinate. A lot more ways. Let's go through the examples. Angels, you ready for it? So, procrastination can be based out of trauma, one. And yes, that can be fear. That can be being scared, paranoid, anxiety, all those different things. So we'll procrastinate because we don't want the experience that's actually generating it. There's a lot of things where we don't feel confident. We don't feel, that we are stable in our own being, that we can trust ourselves. So then we'll procrastinate. Not really based out of fear, it's actually a lack of trust. We actually don't know. There's a lot of experiences where we will externalize things for other people. We constantly need outside of ourselves validation, justifications, confirms. So we don't know, we know that we're not insane, we're not going crazy, but at the same time, it's also another way where we bypass ourselves and constantly get gratification by someone else agreeing with us and saying yes, then we choose it. You see, procrastination is all across the board a big part of human society, and where it dictates everything. Human home life, schools, jobs, careers, all kinds of different things. Where you feel obligated and controlled, where your willpower is taken from you, your own power, and you feel like you're being pushed into doing something, people will procrastinate from that. That has nothing to do with being scared, has nothing to do with not caring. It's realizing that you're being forced to do something that's not in your being to do, is you don't want to do it. It has nothing to do with not caring about it. So it's like energetics are so multidimensional, and you cannot just make a black and white, printout of it. And that's exactly what scientists and people in these situations do a lot of times to understand it from the mind-based point, is to say, oh, well, it's this or that, and this will equal this. No, it's unique. It's so unique to the experience of what that human being needs to go through. And there's a lot of things that people are fighting with from years and years and years of just behavioral patterns they just need to stop doing, and then they'll actually fix it. It'll correct itself organically, because the addiction, the side effect that's being done on the side is not happening anymore. So the energy can now redirect to the correct path organically, not by force, not by you trying to hijack something, not by you trying to think around something. Life will correct itself organically. It has to be allowed. It has to be, surrendered to, so that flow can establish itself. But if you're all up in arms trying to control the whole thing, trying to dictate, okay, you there, you this, you don't know at all. And just the energies of just like listening to their conversation, we're talked about like so much pain and suffering, like literally so comfortable with pain and suffering that they are going to have a speech about of, when they're in pain and suffering, how to make themselves feel better. Like, isn't that like a whole nother level down from like, wow. That's not getting out of it, people. That's not ascending. That's going backwards. Okay. We're not coming up with ways to bypass, the suffering we're going through. We're not coming up with ways to, desensitize ourselves or try to, cover up what needs to get out, what needs to leave our experience and our physical being. We're not coming up with ways to sit there and like tweak it. No, just get it out. Stop playing with it. Simple, and just listening to how they just describe, the crushing of the diamonds, and like you have to take what you want from life or you'll never get it. It's like, you're listening to traumatized people. You're listening to people who've had to fight for what they wanted in life. You're listening to people who had to, sabotage themselves, each other, pull the rug out of each other, just really be, like the guy said, aggressive. No, love is not aggressive at all. For you to feel like you have to aggressively approach life, that means you are approaching people, you're approaching love, you're approaching anything in your life aggressively. Like you're going to control or dominate or power over it or force it into what you want. That's not trust, that's not faith, that's not surrender. That's none of that. It's not love. So you're literally watching people in dysfunction, in spiritual ego, justify why pain and suffering is necessary. Furthermore, justify what you need to do when you're in pain and suffering. Instead of actually transforming it, bypass that, do this instead. You'll feel better while you're going through the process. What the fuck? It's crazy out there, and these are the same beings that people give so much attention to, so much energy to. They have thousands and thousands and thousands of people that follow them on their streams and networks and stuff, and they sit there and listen to this regurgitated crap and hurt themselves, abuse themselves, re-traumatize themselves, put themselves through more intense experiences of force and self-obligation control that they don't need to go through. For what? Because you think this guy has got the key, think he's got something, and it's just like, no. And people are so distrusting with themselves. They're so, devoid of their own self-worth, that they would rather listen to someone else say anything and buy it versus actually being real with themselves. And then they can actually perceive that, like, oh no, he's full of shit. Do you hear? Do you see what he's saying? Like, do you get that? No. You have to be able to discern that. You have to be able to get to that point of where you're just not manipulated and just controlled by what other people are saying, or because what they're saying sounds more intense or more important than what you're saying. It's like you bypass your own discernment and accept that first. You know, these things are, you know, sorry, these things are, you know, very huge, you know, dynamics with, you know, what everyone's going through. And ultimately, I feel it's really important to focus on the self-confidence, you know. You know, because the lack of self-confidence, you know, and lack of self-trust ultimately leads to situations like this where, you know, we start making belief systems out of the trauma, out of the pain and suffering, out of how hard life has to be, and all these things, and we start coming up with our own behavioral patterns, our own routines that we feel are going to help us feel better about the pain and suffering we're in, and then we try to sell to someone else saying, hey, I fixed my problem, do you want to buy it? It's like, they're not fixing anything. They have created another way to cut a corner, which will, that energy will still come back around again later. That's all that's going to happen, you know? So these short-term self-gratifications that people are addicted to and obsessed with, just to get out of pain, just to get out of suffering, just to get out of the misery or all the stuff they're dealing with, and the lack of actual patience and commitment to themselves, for how long they have lived on this planet and gone through this shit, and they want it to be a quick fix. You want it to be an easy out for you after you've gone through all this. That's not self-honor. How are you going to honor yourself, respect yourself of what you've gone through and what you're currently having to take on if you can't even be grateful for it, right? So all these things are going to come up, and they're going to press you to look and feel deeper into it. You know, and this is what people in this lane are not doing in the spiritual community. They're choosing to make a whole freaking monopoly off of it. Like, okay, pain and suffering, all right, I guess this is the way, this is how we're going to ascend, so I guess I'll write the scripture about it and I'll sell it, you know? It's like, people just buy it up, they eat it, like freaking candy. And it's like, look at this, okay? If it was that simple, God sitting on a bed for as many years she did, suffering and pushing this energy and waking everybody up, going through that trauma, what was that for, right? If it was as easy as just like, oh, well, let's create another blanket to cover this up with. You know, if it was that easy for us to get out of this thing, she would have done it like a million times ago. You know, it's true integrity, real intention, and really stepping up to the plate and actually taking that energy on, processing and transforming that, realizing a higher truth in it for yourself, so you're not in a lower with it. That's how you expand and how you can help that energy transform. You know, beings in spiritual lightwork community, they'd rather make a business out of it. Everyone's in pain and suffering. Everyone's doing it. So let's just like talk about that. Let's make it about that. It's like, no, we're not making it about dysfunction. We're not making it about how you can get happy and be, you know, sustaining in dysfunction. That's not going to ascend. That we're not going with that. We're letting this shit go. So again, the experiences and everything are going to come up and pressurize to where you're going to see a lot of the things that we've just been buying into, that we've been believing in, and just like, you know, allowing just be, you know, put in place, you know, without really honoring ourselves, really feeling into it. Is this right for me? Is this highest? You know, these things are all going to come about to where it will now be important to you. It has to matter. It has to matter to you in order for you to embody further and move higher in the timeline. We are not unconscious beings. We are not unconsciously roaming around on this planet, throwing energy and pushing things every which way, and just like not sticking around for the result, not being responsible for what that energy ultimately adds up to, right? Being conscious beings, royal angels, involves you fully becoming responsible, accountable for that. So through the experiences of that, you know, we're seeing everyone, whether they get stuck, whether they get attached, or, you know, they just want to project. They don't want to accept it. So therefore, it's someone else's problem. It's someone else's fault. You know, all these things are going to come up. They're going to keep getting more intense. You know, we saw a lot of that kind of get triggered off with Biden earlier this year. Saw a lot of stuff come out, and it allowed humanity to express a lot of pent up anger and things that they've always wanted to say. And now it's like more people are expressing, more people are saying things about it. So now everybody else is starting to say something about it now too, because they've been feeling it, you know? And that's how it works. As people get inspired, people get, you know, pushed to step into those higher roles, those higher places of evolution when they feel confident, when they feel they can trust themselves, when they feel, they can discern properly, and rely on that. And that doesn't come just from someone giving it to you. It doesn't come from someone telling you how to do it. It's literally a choice you have to make in yourself. Do you really trust yourself? How much do you trust yourself? What's blocking it? Well, let's get to it. Let's move out the crap that's blocking your self-trust so you can actually anchor that in. Therefore, your experiences you are having, the tap-ins you're having with the angels, the discernment, intuition, the guidance, all the clairaudience, clairsentience, all the things coming in, you can trust it more. You can allow more to come through because you're more vulnerable with it, right? You see, this is how humanity is going to evolve through ascension, is through the internal work and the awareness and understanding what's going on, not by externalizing things, not by moving outside yourself and finding a reason or a cause for your, stagnation or your hang up or what's going on. No, it's all internal process. The same guy, not the second guy that was talking, but the first guy, that Will Hoffman, whatever guy, I can't remember his last name. But there was another post on there. I was scrolling down and I was reading, he was sharing that he just had a procedure done, with the great doctor, somebody, and it was like a leading edge, thing that he just, created or something like that, where basically he had some kind of fluid injected into, his side, and basically it was like separating the tendons and the muscles and everything like that, and doing something. And it was like some kind of long-term pain that he had in his sacral and his back, for years. You really feel it. It's like these are the same people that get up here and they promote all this crap, these machines, all these different new techs, these new tools, these different methods, all these different things. And like, this can heal you, this can do this, and this can do this, and this, and this. And you look at it, they're sitting in the same freaking pain and suffering that they started off with 7 years ago. But if it's not doing it for you, why are you, again, like the guy who talked about being a journalist? He's like, anything you want written? It was a yes. He's like, why are you giving it to other people? Why are you sharing it? Why are you telling other people if it's dysfunction? If it's not really working? Why? Because it's self-importance. Gets attention. Make some money off of it. Great. But all in all, the actual internal healing process is not taking place. Because the intention is not even on healing. It's on self-importance. You see? The spiritual community is so dysfunctional in this, where they are so worried about themselves. So worried about all things that have nothing to do with ascension and will not be coming with you when we get there. And a lot of things with the back and the sacral and energy, it's all energy. So had he actually not gone to a doctor, had a needle stuck in him, or want to do all these weird things with tools and stuff, how about we just sit with ourselves for a moment and feel into the back? Let's feel into the sacral. Let's feel into the energy of it. What is it coming from? What's it connected to? We do this all the time on sessions. Let's move it now. Let's talk about it. Let's explode it. It can happen so quickly. But beings who choose to be in pain and suffering, choose to be in that space, they're the ones that are trying to, I would say, monopolize it, trying to make money on it, trying to, create it into something else. Same thing was like martyrs and people with Savior program. They try to be heroes, try to save other people. Same way for people in pain and suffering, where they're like, they don't want to accept it, that they don't want to not identify with it. They're going to create a lifestyle out of it. And then everything from that lifestyle is going to be about pain and suffering, how to be in deeper forms of pain and suffering and be numb to it, be desensitized, not know that you're in pain and suffering, but it's great. Yeah, right? It's so crazy. It's very, very wild. But yeah, this is what, a lot of people deal with, when they're waking up, with the misinformation, like with the truth. A lot of people waking up, they don't understand. They don't know. A lot of them have been hearing these things for years. People talk about it. They probably bypass it, like, yeah, whatever, and now they're starting to really look at it like, okay, maybe those people weren't so crazy. Maybe the conspiracy theorists weren't just so full of themselves. Maybe they were just like high on crack all the time. Maybe they actually had some real things they were saying, and those people are starting to be like, okay, but that is where, beings that are starting to realize these truths now in these very fast ways, it triggers the anxiety, it triggers the stress, the paranoia, the fear, that people have, where, they don't have the confidence, they don't have that full trust and faith in God and in themselves yet. So where their experience is shifting, it's going to bring in these lower frequencies where they have to combat that, and that's really where you can't disassociate. It's not about figuring out how to get rid of this, what pill I take, what do I do to do this. No, it's like, how about you sit with the anxiety? If it's such a real experience for you, is it really so bad for you to sit moments with yourself and feel the anxiety? Feel it. It's not going to hurt you. You're not going to keel over and die. You're not going to start bleeding out of somewhere. Just feel the anxiety. Allow it to feel in your body what that feels like. And a lot of that stuff is going to start breaking away and healing and releasing, because it's really a lot of fear just to even accept or even feel it. Such a resistance to just feeling the actual emotion that keeps reoccurring. And that's what allows it to keep coming back, because you won't feel it. You won't acknowledge it for what it is. You won't accept that it's a part of you. And only until you do that and you allow that feeling of stress, anger, rage, whatever it is, to really feel that in yourself. Give yourself that honor and that respect to feel what you actually feel. And then it will be allowed to release and move out. But if you're going to be in denial and disassociation, try to like whitewash everything, oh, it's grand, it's rainbows, pot of gold, it's awesome, man. It's like, no, that's what keeps it circulating back to you. And then you have to deal with another, so I feel that's really, really good pointers on that point. Thank you, Mom. Hi, everybody. I love you all. Was it just me, or did George's voice change for a moment? I don't know. That was a very, very passionate moment, that definitely... I was watching that video today. I was like, okay, I really liked this guy years ago, and now I'm just like, you're watching basically with that perpetual... process of people who are in belief systems, super ego, spiritual ego, where they don't transform, they keep going further into it, and they keep, creating more dysfunction on top of it. And it's even a thicker, layered thing they got to go through at some point, But, those are some of the most densest people. But yet, a lot of people are listening and following them. And, like, that's where, it's like the misinformation, spiritual ego gets spread around really quickly. People are just, like, creating their own shit up, making up their own ideas and stuff like that. And it's just pulling people off the highest timeline, And this is a very important thing with Mom, especially with, the team over the years, is, like, not really focusing so much on what's going on out there, okay? Like, you got to get your internal self in alignment and right action to be able to do all the things you have to take on, and if you are identifying or relating time or anything like that with what's going on out there, it's like everything's multidimensional. So it's not how where you can look at it, it's all happening at the same time. No, it's a lot of things going on, very outside your scope of perception, and why they need to happen in that moment versus that one. And only God knows that. It's divine plan. So it's not something for you to think in or think about. It's more just an experience. So a lot of things that are coming up right now is going to move humanity back into this space where they have to be empowered, self-empowered. Whether that involves you taking your power back, or that involves you stepping up into your power. Wherever you are in that experience, wherever it is for you personally, that is your biggest test to do that, especially in these moments. To anchor anything in, you got to feel empowered. You got to be confident. You got to stand on something. You got to have made choices, a choice internally, that you are divine, higher self, God's love, God's a woman, all these different things that you already are aware of, that how deep have you fully accepted that in yourself? Because that's where your empowerment's going to come from. Your willpower. For you, in order to put your willpower and your empowerment behind something like that, you really have to know it. Really have to have felt into it and trust it, accept it for yourself. Or else it's going to be like this thing you try to juggle around all the time. It's like this, this dance in and out the door thing with yourself. Either sometimes you're on it, sometimes you're not. And that's not being stable. That's not being really empowered and confident, to take on the roles and the tasks that you need to do. So ultimately this is going to push us all to trust mom more, have more faith. But yes, it is getting humanity to a higher state of empowerment, to be worthy, to accept prosperity and abundance and all those things. If you do not feel empowered, then none of that shit's coming to you. It's just how it works. Because energetically, you are putting off this energetic frequency of disempowerment, of just weakness, of undervalue, unworthiness, where it's not a vibrational match to all the things that you would love to have in your experience. But as long as you choose to be in those energetics and push that, that's what you're going to equal in equal energy exchange, the lack of it. Until you can flip it, decide for yourself right now, choose. I am worthy. I am divine. I trust myself. I love myself unconditionally. That's without conditions. So any conditions you have on love, nope, not unconditional love. Love truly is unconditional. There's no standards, no expectations, no limits, nothing. Love is multidimensional. It is infinite. It's unconditional. So all those things, and accept that for yourself. Allow yourself to go deeper with that. And that will help build the empowerment. You'll feel empowered because you're actually giving that love to yourself, not focused on giving it to someone else, not trying to, sweet talking and give it to someone else so you can get it back from them. It's like, why don't you just give it to yourself? Quit wasting time. Quit, giving your energy to black holes and suckfest. And then it's like, you sit there and wait for it to come back and they don't. And then now you're unhappy, you're pissed off, you feel betrayed, you feel, jaded and hurt feelings and everything because no one loves you, no one will spend time with you and talk to you. And it's like, go do it yourself. Go do it for yourself, with yourself, yourself. And until you can do that, even once for yourself, do not sit around with a single finger pointing at anyone's direction that they didn't do anything for you. Okay? If you cannot step up for yourself, if you cannot show up for yourself and support your own self, why in the world would you ever, in ego, have expectations of anyone else doing it for you? Blame anyone else for not doing it for you. Project onto anyone else for not doing it for you. You won't even do it for you. So what do you really have to say? Right? This is where we really get real and transparent with ourselves. Because this ultimately is going to allow us to move a big chunk of crap out the way. Okay? And not sit there and fight with it. We're not going to arm wrestle with it. We're not going to debate with the ego. We're just going to clear it. And like, nope, not doing this. Not today, Satan. Goodbye. I saw it. It was a clip on TikTok yesterday. This guy was like messaging his daughter, and like she was saying all these crazy things, like she was like a full-grown adult. She was acting like she was very full of her britches, I feel. And he was just being so hilarious about it. He was like, look at the messages, and he was like, nope, not today, Satan. Nope, no. And he's just like, nope, hard bypass, not dealing with this. And like that's a lot of ways you just gotta be in these moments, just like, any moment ego wants to come in, pull you off, distract you, pull you into like just lowers or anything. Just stay centered, stay on target in your heart space. Like, nah, fuck off ego, not today. Gonna do this in love, for myself, in love, for creation, for everyone, and allow it just to be a part of the whole experience. Just keep flowing, keep being, keep supporting yourself, keep looking yourself in the mirror. If you brush your teeth in the morning, I'm telling you right now, you brush your teeth in the morning and you're not looking at yourself, you ain't loving yourself, okay? You better be able to look in your eyeballs when you're brushing your teeth, you're putting stuff on your skin. So like, if you can't look at this beautiful being that you are caring for, being attentive to and loving back into wholeness and truth, if you can't even look at that beauty, what are you doing? Right? Get rid of the awkward crap. Get out of it. Love yourself. Be centered. Be gentle with yourself. Allow your compassion for yourself to come up to the surface and move slowly. And nurturing and self-patience. Love. Deep love. And allow that to be your experience. Don't have an agenda, a time span, or an expiration day, or all these different things you got to worry about, filling your day, tasks, lists, all that crap. Let it go. Be in the moment with yourself. appreciate yourself, love, respect, and honor yourself. And maybe, just maybe, your cup will fill up a little bit where you'll actually be able to express that for others and share that with others in realness, not fakeness, actually really living it, which will feel amazing and great to you. Okay? Got to get real, got to get transparent with ourselves. It's time to start returning it back to ourselves. Love. Okay? I'll tell you right now, no matter what God said to me, this entire mission of these years, the number one thing she said more times than anything else to me, specifically over and over again, love yourself, George. Just love yourself. She didn't care about anything. She wasn't worried about anything else. It was just that one thing she needed me to get, that God wanted me to understand. Just love yourself. Quit making it about all this, that, and all this, or because of this, and this was it, or that wasn't happening. It was like, just love yourself. Be with yourself. Appreciate yourself for who and what you are, what you have endured and come through in life to this point in your existence. As a human being, as your birthright, as a divine soul on this planet. Love yourself, because this wasn't easy. God knows this wasn't easy, but she's not going to sit here and give you all these sweet compliments all day because your ego will abuse it. Take it for granted. Oh, Mom, yeah, God knows this is hard. It's the hardest. No, it's not. Stop. Be gentle with yourself, though. Don't enable yourself. Don't let yourself slide. Be real, though, because we've been through some shit. And if you want to actually heal and let it go and transform this stuff and move through it to the next phase of your embodiment, it takes that realness just to let it go. And realize that, yeah, it's an experience. Yeah, it's this. Yeah, it was that. But I still love myself no matter what. Regardless of what I have gone through, despite what has transpired for me in my life, I love myself. How well do you trust that for yourself when you say it, when you feel it? Work more deeply on that this week. It'll really help everyone a lot. But I love you all. I don't see any questions on stream. Thank you all for joining and participating on the comments. But yeah, this is your hour-long of Roadside Nuggets with Georgie. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. It'll be on time, So, yeah, definitely just move slowly with yourselves. These are a lot of energies coming in. The new moon we just had in Cancer, a lot of emotional energy releasing for everyone in the collective. So, the more reflection you spend now in these moments, reflecting, writing it out, releasing, crying, whatever you got to do, show yourself that you can be with yourself in the moments where your body needs you to be, okay? Not where your brain wants you to be at, not where your attachments want you to be at, not where your desires want you to be at. Where's your body right now? What are you dealing with? What is processing? What is releasing? What do you need to do to support your physical being more so you can get this healing faster, right? If you're going to make it a long road for yourself, go distract yourself. Go, If you want to get through this and let this shit go and actually get done with this broken record so we can heal and move to the higher points of this existence, allow these moments of appreciation. God went through all these moments of bringing in the plans, the moon in Cancer, all these experiences don't just happen on a whim. Mom is putting it all together. So she is putting hard work into creating these experiences for us to be in these spaces of deep reflection. So don't distract yourself or sabotage that by not being present with yourself during these moments that Mom is bringing along for us to be deeply reflective and be disassociative and distract yourself. Allow yourself to be in the flow of Mom. Allow yourself to be in the flow of where you are in these moments and let this process and release. And it will allow everyone to feel a lot better in these other coming energies because they're just going to get more intense. So, the buildup is on, everyone. But I love you. Everyone take care. I feel stream will be on later today at 6. Drink water, ground, ceremonies if you haven't done that yet. Make sure you are taking moments to yourself to be gentle and just be in a meditative space. Flow through your day. Don't run. Don't try to sprint. Don't try to go through with the whole list. Just flow. Be in the flow of love. All right. We love you all. Take care of yourselves.